Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And a very warm welcome to you and tonight's live show. So, according to James Gunn, now this is very interesting because James Gunn says so much. It's like he's opening a Pandora's box. Somebody asked James Gunn if Superman Legacy and Creature Commandos was fast-tracked. He said no, but they've been in development before he and Peter took over DC Studios. So clearly, Superman Legacy is James Gunn's baby. Creature Commandos is his baby. So clearly, he was going to get these projects whether he took over DC Studios or not. The plot thickens. So he was involved because he was always leaving the MCU after Guardians 3. So he was always going to do Superman Legacy and Creature Commandos, whether he took over DC Studios or not. So he was working on these projects already. So I shall repeat, James Gunn says that Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy were in development before he and Peter took over DC Studios, which means he was making this stuff and he was working there and he was going to do a Superman movie even before it was decided that he and Peter would take over. I mean, I personally think that's a sensational revelation, if you ask me. And it goes beyond that. Some people are saying to him, are you dealing with Clark Kent or Superman's son? He said, who told you that I'm not dealing with Clark Kent? Clark Kent is in the movie. Now, I've had this theory that John Kent will be the main Superman. We'll have to wait and see what happens here. So basically, the whole hashtag run with Gunn. What does that mean? That means you support James Gunn and Peter Safran's vision for DC, as do I, because I think it's a great vision. So I've posted there my cinema grades for the DCEU, and they're my genuine cinema grades for the DCEU. So why don't you post your cinema grades for the DCEU movies as well, and let's have some fun. Mine is Man of Steel A+, BVS A+, Suicide Squad B, Zack Snyder's Wonder Woman, basically Wonder Woman 2017 A+, Zack Snyder's Justice League A+, Aquaman A, Shazam B+, Birds of Prey C-, Wonder Woman 84 -Z. I don't think there's such a grade, but yeah, I'm being funny. The Suicide Squad A, Black Adam B+. I think that's pretty much a fair assessment of how I feel about the DCEU, which basically says I love Man of Steel, I love BVS, I enjoyed the first Suicide Squad. I think Wonder Woman is one of the best solo movies ever made. Zack Snyder's Justice League, a 4-hour Justice League movie, inject it in my veins, A+. Aquaman is an A. I adore the Aquaman movie. Shazam's B+. I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. Birds of Prey, it had some good moments, but ultimately its attack on men basically upset me. So then you've got Black Adam. I had a really good time with Black Adam, not the greatest of movies, and that's why I gave it a B+. So get commenting, tell me what you think, and what do you think of Superman Legacy and Creature Commandos being in development prior to James and Peter taking over at DC Studios. So get commenting. No one's commented yet. Does that mean you can't comment? Is there a problem? Someone let me know if you can comment. There's no point doing a live if no one comments. Come on. Say hi or something so I know there's not a problem. Otherwise, I'm going to have to cancel the video. Come on, come on, come on. Here we are. It's okay. Madja, listen, I think Gunn will make Superman extra goofy in this whole universe he will try to make like the MCU. I'm assuming, Matija, you think that Superman being a good guy and maybe slightly humorous is goofy. I don't. I grew up with that kind of Superman. He's already said this is not the MCU 2.0, and I believe him, Matija. I don't think that's what he's doing. Yes, The similarity is one story spread out, one universe, but he's still going to focus on making good movies. So I don't think this is going to be like the MCU. If you mean by a goofy Superman, he's not like Zack Snyder's Superman, you're right. I'm excited for him to give us the Superman from the comics. This is something diehard Superman comic fans didn't get, and in the past, and they deserve to get this. So yeah, I'm very excited, Matisha. I'm sorry if you think James Gunn's going to make him goofy. I think there will be some sarcasm. Christopher Reeve's Superman was kind of sarcastic at times. But teacher, what about Brave and the Bold and having Damien already this soon? Why is it too soon for Damien? And that's a question to you. He's building out the Bat family, but he's decided to go with Damian Wayne as his Robin, which basically means that Dick Grayson is old enough to be Nightwing. And I think the other characters will be there. They will be built out in this movie. But he's decided to go with Damian Wayne. I like the idea of Damian Wayne being the Robin because he has a personal connection with him, considering he's his son, and there's that struggle to adapt to, how can Bruce Wayne be with a son, with a blood relative, considering he was trained by the League of Shadows as well. So I'm very excited. I don't think it's too soon at all, but I think you're going to see the Bat family in that movie. So if you're concerned you're not going to see other Robins, I think that you will, but they'll have different positions. Maybe Dick Grayson is already with the Titans. Matisha, I just don't think this is a slate. This slate is that good, to be honest. Like, we don't have a Wonder Woman project in here. Apart from that, why don't you like the slate? Don't you like a Superman movie in the slate? Don't you like a Batman movie in the slate? Don't you like a Swamp Thing movie in the slate? Now, we have a Wonder Woman project without Wonder Woman, which is, I forgot what it's called, Paradise Lost. There will be a proper Wonder Woman project announced. They've already said, Matisha, that they're actually making Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman the Holy Trinity front and center. They haven't announced the Wonder Woman project yet, but they will. So I'm just wondering what you don't like about that slate, apart from not a Wonder Woman movie. You don't like Superman, you don't like Batman, you don't like Swamp Thing. John, they have given us a list of Superman movies that are included in the 4K set. They have, and it's very exciting, John. Matisha, yeah, I like all that. I'm just not a fan of that authority in Creature Commandos, and James is keeping pacemaker characters. So I'm not a fan of the authority. Well, I don't know much about them, but I must admit it does sound very Kingdom Come-like, and that excites me. Also, that's where someone told me this earlier today on today's DC Universe Daily, should I say, that, that's where Superman versus the Elites, like a series of graphic novels came from. So that excites me. So that actually, I'm happy with all of it. But teacher, look, they look cool. Just think it's better to focus on the JL characters first. Why? Superman is a JL character. He's in the first movie. I'm assuming, I would say either the Authority or Brave and the Bold will come next. Batman's part of the Justice League. Then you've got Supergirl. She's in some versions of the Justice League, and she was certainly part of the animated Justice League roster as well. So there's a lot of characters there. We don't really know about a Justice League being in existence and what he's going to do with that. But I just think that's an easy thing to do. Set up Justice League from the very beginning. Focus on Justice League. We did it. And let's be honest, it didn't work. But I'm sure the Justice League and that roster, whatever roster he chooses, will be there. So I think I do personally disagree with you. I do like the slate. John, have you seen Ant-Man 3? Right, listen, John, this is the way it is. I haven't seen any MCU content since episode 4 of Miss Marvel, and I don't plan to. Have you seen Ant-Man 3, and what did you think of it? Matisha, let's assume this is a good slate. But considering the Snyder fans, the bad ones, it's like 50% of people will watch DCU and 50% won't. Here's how it works, Matcha. The Snyder fans don't really, taking the Snyder fans away from watching DC isn't a bad thing. Because if this is a good universe, you will get members of the general audience, hundreds and thousands of them, that didn't kind of get involved and consume the DCEU. So there's going to be people that can replace the Snyder fans. It's not just about them. They don't really make up the DC fandom. But there's a huge DC fandom who weren't catered towards before. So you're going to get members of the general audience who do trust James Gunn, who want to run with Gunn. And I think at the end of the day, even if the Snyderverse fans are not involved, there will be other fans to take their place if this is a universe that people enjoy. Abraham Herrera, Marvel's demise is finally here. Gunn has a clear shot to make this universe succeed. Oh, good evening, Abraham. And there's nothing that gives me more pleasure than seeing Marvel and Disney fail. Their animation is failing. The MCU is failing. And their Star Wars, apart from what Favreau and Filoni are doing, never got started. Hello, Rolo. How you feeling, my friend? Yes, Rolo. Hey, Mick, how are you? I'm doing very well, Rolo. How are you doing? Scott Edwards, what's up, Mick? Good evening, Scott. Yusuf Ajizwan, James Gunn, he actually reads comics. He does. Unlike me, by the way. My fandom comes from live action. But, yes, it's important to love this shit and be talented at the same time. And the way he hypes up, the way he talks to the fans on the internet, it's all very, very important. Bat Super, good evening, Mick. Good evening, Bat Super. Matchda, do you think Superman actor will get lots of hate? Regrettably, by a certain fandom, the bad people, the minority from that fandom, will give this person a lot of hate. It doesn't matter if he's Henry Cavill's illegitimate son. Yeah, the poor lad is going to get hate. I'm sure this person will be prepped and prepared. Whoever it is, even if it's someone I don't want it to be, I'm going to support them. They're playing my favorite character in fiction. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's not this new actor's fault that Henry was replaced, that Zach was removed. But unfortunately, those people who hate, I've got no time for. There's no reason to hate. But yeah, I feel that the day that's announced, Twitter will be broken. Scott Edwards, you've been watching Flash Season 9. I haven't, Scott. Should I start watching it? I've got it on Netflix, you know. I should start watching it. John, what happens if Gunn's DCU fails? Well, John, what do you think happens? He's out the door. But at this moment in time, it doesn't look like this is going to fail. And considering there's a run with Gunn hashtag, it's got the public support. From looking at the slate and what he's saying, I personally don't think it's going to fail. But if it does fail, John, yeah, there's zero tolerance on failure by David Zaslav. He'll be out the door. And no doubt, Mike DeLuca will take over DC Studios immediately. Maybe even Todd Phillips, which was the first approach that Zaslav made. Matchda, I'm just glad we're getting a Superman movie. Started Superman animated series and loving it so far. Oh, it's a great series. And all the Superman animation and DC animation by Bruce Timm is great, Matchda. Yes, I'm so happy. My favorite character in fiction is back in a movie. There's nothing more exciting about that. James Gunn has got, if you go to his Twitter profile, on his top profile pic, not the main profile pic, he's got multiple Superman up there as well. I'm so excited. Abraham Herrera, The Flash became my most anticipated movie of the year. That trailer is peak, isn't it, Abraham? Matchda. Also, I hope this time we get some Lana Lang. Not a fan of Lois that much. Movies TV mad. I love Lois and I love Lana in Smallville. I love them both. I'm not a shipper, by the way, so I love them both. The whole idea is that Lana is, you know, Clark's teenage childhood sweetheart, and Lois Lane is his adult girlfriend and future wife. I love them both, and I hope Lana is involved. I'd love to see that. Yusuf Ajuwan, if we are getting a Swamp Thing, that the first actual hint to live-action Justice League Dark movie. Absolutely. The Justice League Dark, you know, Constantine, the witch, what's her name? What's her bloody name? You know who I mean. All those characters are going to be introduced, hopefully. Bad Super, I want Lana and Lois. John, Red Death is the villain of The Flash season 9. Isn't it supposed to be the actress played by Batgirl? Sam Duran reviews. Do you think we will get General Sam Lane, Lucy Lane, and Lana Lang? I think we'll definitely get General Sam Lane. I wanted General Sam Lane to be in Man of Steel and in the DCEU, and we didn't see it. So I love General Sam Lane. That's one thing from the comics I do know, and I'd love to see it. Bad Super, I want Livewire in live action. Scott Edwards, yeah, you should watch it. Been so excited for Batwoman to come in. Yeah, not something I'm looking forward to. Match the fun fact about Flash season 10. It happened would have Blackest Night adaptation, basically Green Lantern story, and clearly we would have had David Ramsey involved in that. Surely, I don't know how they would have pulled it off, but it's never going to happen now. Scott Edwards, are you all caught up on Mandoverse and excited for Mandalorian season 3? Oh, I've always been caught up with the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. Matchga, yes, Scott. But yeah, I'm amazed that Superman Legacy and Creature Commandos were in development prior to Peter and James taking over DC Studios. And that's something you told a fan. So that's insane. That is insane. So he was always making a Superman movie. Do you remember when he was talking about his mystery project? He was talking about his mystery project even before he got the DC Studios gig. So, wow. Matchda, my most anticipated movie in DCU must be Swamp Thing. The TV show was insanely great. It was, and we were all shocked and disheartened by its cancellation. Sam the Jam reviews. Do you think we will get Gotham City Sirens? Maybe eventually. Scott Edwards, I mean, have you watched the Boba Fett finale yet? No, I haven't. No, not yet. Very busy man. I will watch it eventually. So that's just nuts to me that he was going to do a Superman movie even without being the head of DC Studios. That's amazing. Scott Edwards, I hope Supergirl is in the Flash series finale. That would be pretty good. Maybe she'll turn up before. Rolo, no hard feelings, Mick. No hard feelings, Rolo. It's great to fall out. It's great to have disagreements. Matchda, are you sad Arrowverse is ending or are you relieved? Do you know what? I'm pretty nonchalant about it, Matchda. I don't care. I was a big fan of Arrowverse during the first 2 seasons of Arrow and the first 2 seasons of The Flash. I was obsessed. I loved the first season of Supergirl. I loved the first season of Legends. I was all in. But then I realized this wasn't for me anymore. It became very SJW. Didn't like it. And I stopped watching it and I got bored of it. But in the early days, I couldn't wait to see the latest episode of Arrow or The Flash. Rolo, The Flash ran its course after season 2. Matchda, yeah, I stopped watching Arrowverse after Flash season 3. I think I kind of persevered and tortured myself for another couple of seasons. Scott Edwards, it's definitely a must-watch before Mandalorian season 3. It's a shame. I still think it's a great achievement, Arrowverse. I mean, it was an interconnected shared universe for DC, and that's been rarely pulled off. So they pulled it off, but unfortunately, after a while, the tone and what they were doing didn't suit me. Shit like Cisco saying Kara, my favorite Kryptonian. Don't like that male superhero, right? Don't like Superman, right? They were pulling off shit like that, and they were starting to piss me off. So I stopped watching it. Instead of bashing my head on a brick wall and doing, hate watching it and doing reviews on here, I stopped watching. Sam the Jan reviews. Do you think Stargirl and Black Lightning actors will be in the DC universe? No. Matchda. So what do you think? So who do you think should Ezra stay as the Flash in DCU or a recast? Personally, for what they did, I think they need to recast. It's a bad rep, and also don't want to look at a person who did that stuff. I think it's a very complicated situation. I mean, look, personally, I would prefer a recast, and it's nothing to do with their behavior. I just think we can cast a younger, better suited actor to play the Flash. So I would be more than happy with a recast. How I feel this will go, if the Flash movie is ultra successful, he'll stay. If it's mediocrely successful, he'll probably go. But ultimately, I feel that Ezra Miller will be replaced. But after the Flash movie, I don't foresee us seeing a Flash, anyone playing the Flash, for quite a while. Abraham Herrera. Arrowverse had massive potential those first few years, but then they wiped their arse with it. Derpy Entertainment. Hi, good evening. Welcome to Movies TV Mad, Derpy Entertainment. I think Wonder Woman will still be played by Gal, and same for Aquaman. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that Jason Momoa will continue as Aquaman, maybe, probably, but even that isn't a sure thing at this moment in time. He said there's a possibility for all the 4 leads of this year's movies to be involved in DC Universe. I'm not so sure if he's being genuinely honest about that. And as for Gal, it's all very strange at the moment. I hope she stays because she's the ultimate Wonder Woman. We will see. Sam Jam reviews. The actress who plays Stargirl needs to be in the DC Universe. She was perfect casting as Stargirl. She was. Bat Super Image. Imagine if the Flash makes No Way Home money. Well, anything's possible. Match the still pissed they scrapped Wonder Woman 3. I'm ecstatic they scrapped Wonder Woman 3. After Wonder Woman 4 match, I didn't want to see Patty Jenkins anywhere near another DC movie. I said they would scrap it, and they did, and I'm happy they did. John, what are some of your favourite scenes in Superman 2? Well, the one in the fortress where his mother, played by Susanna York, says, you will be able to be hurt like an ordinary man. And she says all that. I start to cry. It's so emotional. And the way it's played, and the way he loses his powers, that's one of my favourite scenes. When the guy beats him up in the calf, that's another favourite scene of mine, seeing him mortalised and then him seeing Zod on the screen and Zod going, Superman, can you hear me? Come to me, Superman. If you dare, defy me. Kneel before Zod. Zod. When? Where have you been, Mac? On a desert island? I love that bit. I was just trying to remember the other bit so I could recite that as well. I love that. Look, I love the whole movie. I love Superman the movie and Superman 2. I love the movie. I love the fight in Metropolis. It was my first superhero supervillain battle, and it still looks amazing considering the technology we have today. Rolo, I would have liked the Flash movie in Central City with the Rogues. That would have been fun. MSGT, I couldn't watch any of the Arrowverse stuff. It was the whole campy CW of it all. Earlier, Smallville hooked me for only specific reasons, but I couldn't look past CW with Arrow or Flash. Abraham Herrera, the Flash will make at least Aquaman money, especially because Marvel ain't got anything exciting coming out, and they've delayed the Marvels. Bat Super, do you think we will know the casting for Batman before the end of this year? Yes, I think that's by the end of this year. I think we'll probably know all of the castings. Matchda, what I want to see in DCEU is a Constantine movie or show where you're getting a Constantine sequel starring Keanu Reeves for sure. John and Superman did not kill Zod in Superman 2. No, Zod was not murdered. The other two weren't murdered either. Ursa and Non weren't killed either. They weren't killed. They just slid down the fortress. That's it. But yes, Superman 2. Actually, I like the theatrical version of Superman 2. I think it's great. I think it's a great movie. One of the best sequels ever made. It works. It absolutely works. So I've given you my cinema grades for the DCEU. If you want to write your cinema grades down there, be my guest. But James Gunn is talking about Superman Legacy all the time, and what he's revealing is very, very interesting. And I think the authority, we may even, will we see the authority in Superman Legacy? It's interesting, isn't it? Now, Authority is going to be a movie, The Authority, and I think they're a very interesting concept. Mazda, as for Superman villains, we need to see villains like Livewire, Mr. Mixapicolic, Metallo, Bizarro. Metallo would be my pick because Metallo is a domestic villain, and I like that about him. Abraham Herrera, now that John Wick 4 is coming out, they will want to use Keanu's momentum. Constantine should start production this year. Yeah, I'm excited. And I'm sure that's going to be part of the DC Elseworld. So we got so much variety with Joker 2, Follow Your Do, with Batman 2, with Penguin, with what's going on with DCU, with these year's 4 DCEU movies as well. Mazda, who would you pick as a villain for Brave and the Bold? Rumors are Deathstroke. Yeah, we were discussing this morning about Deathstroke. I think Deathstroke could be, and I'm still suspicious that Ben Affleck may direct that film. I think that may happen. Very interesting. Scott Edwards, Arrowverse were screwed over. Why? Why, Scott? You got nine seasons of The Flash. You got eight seasons of Arrow. You got 4 or 5 seasons of Supergirl. You got 3 or 4 seasons of Black Lightning. What else could you possibly want? Mazda, I always thought Deathstroke was more of a Teen Titans villain than Batman. But that may be a connection with Dick Grayson as well. That may be setting things up for their future kind of stuff with the Teen Titans. Scott Edwards, do you think Batman has been cut from Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Yes, I think both Batmen have been cut out of that movie. Rolo, Superman Legacy is the perfect opportunity for Jason Momoa as Lobo to make an appearance like a villain in the beginning scene. Yeah, I think he's going to be involved with that movie, and I can't wait to see him. Sam Dejan reviews, I think Deathstroke will be in Peacemaker Season 2. Bad Super, DCU will have variety, and it's a great strength, absolutely. Scott Edwards, no Justice League momentum after Crisis. That's true, and I think that must have something to do with, obviously, them knowing that the CW was being sold and Arrowverse was done, maybe. And also COVID had something to do with that as well, Scott. Match, I always admired Raven. She was and is my favourite Teen Titan. Hope we get a Teen Titan movie or a show in the future. I'm sure we will. I think because they're all part, really. They're an extension of the Bat family in a lot of ways, and considering Dick Grayson is a big part of that group as well. Sam Dejan reviews, Ben Affleck should direct The Authority or a Question movie. I love the Question. I first saw the Question in the Justice League animated series. I fucking love that character. Abraham Herrera, Machete is now a favourite of mine. I hope he can be given creative freedom. Well, considering he was allowed to cast who he wanted as Supergirl, he certainly had creative freedom from Walter Hamada. Obviously, Walter Hamada saddled in with Christina Hodson, but I think he had a lot of license. Mazda, since this chapter is called Gods and Monsters, do you expect the Justice League movie in the slate? It's interesting. The Justice League situation is interesting. I think we get a Green Lantern movie in this slate. I think we get a Wonder Woman movie in this slate. I'm not sure if we get a Justice League movie in Gods and Monsters. But I think this is a really long slate. I think like Phase 4 was an extremely short slate. Definitely cut short, by the way. Yusuf Ajuwan, maybe we're getting Milestone. Sam Dejan reviews, after The Flash, Andy Muschietti needs to direct the Justice League movie. Scott Edwards, do you think Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will wrap up after story or leave room for a sequel? It's the second movie. Now, I think originally they may have left it open. I don't know what they're going to do here. But James has said there's a chance for these 4 leads of this year's movies to be involved in the future. So it could go either way. Yusuf Ajawan, replace Barry with Wally. I think that there's a high probability of that. Abraham Herrera, and I feel kind of bad for Hamada. He actually wanted to pay respect to the Snyderverse. Yeah, because I think the Flash movie does that. And I think he was doing like the Flash 2 or Final Crisis, whatever he was planning. He was bringing back Snyder's cast from wherever they were locked away. So he was going to do a proper thing. He was building it up. Now, either that was the Flash 2 or that was a separate movie. Even Zach knew about Final Crisis. Do you remember when he teased it with his Thanksgiving turkey? So even Zach knew about that. So there was definitely something going on. Ray Fisher mucked things up a bit, didn't he? Matchda, what if this DCU doesn't go good and it ends up like DCEU? Could they sell DC to someone like Universal? I wouldn't want Universal anywhere near DC. No, I think if this doesn't work, they either A, sack Gunn and Saffron and probably put Mike DeLuca in charge, or they sell the whole studio off. But I don't, at this moment in time, I don't want a studio sold off. I certainly don't want DC sold off. And, you know, what if it's successful? What if it's a failure? You know, you could roll a dice and get 6 or 1. Who knows? Sam DeJam Hughes, we need the Martian Manhunter movie. I agree. Yusuf Al-Jawan, I don't feel bad for Hamada or Ann Sarnoff. MSGT, Man of Steel A+, agree. BVS A+, Suicide Squad B, Wonder Woman A+, Zack Snyder's Justice League A+, Aquaman, mine A-, Shazam B-, Birds of Prey -D, Wonder Woman 84 -F, The Suicide Squad A, Black Adam C. Fair enough, MSGT. A good little grading there. Scott Edwards, have you seen Quantumania? I haven't seen an MCU project since episode 4 of Miss Marvel, and I don't plan on seeing any MCU going forward. I'm all in. I'm running with Gunn. I will watch Guardians 3. That's it, to support James Gunn. The rest of it, they can go and spit. I am done. James Gunn's done. I'm Gunn. I'm very excited for DC. Majda, so 2024 only has Joker for DC, kind of worried. No, you shouldn't be worried because it's not possible for them to make 6 movies for 2024. This is how it's going to work. Joker 2, Folie à Deux, in October. We're going to have Creature Commandos, a 7-episode animated series on HBO Max. We're going to have Waller on HBO Max. We're going to have Penguin in 2024 on HBO Max, right? So you got a lot of projects. That's 4 projects already. That's more than enough. 2025, we've got the Batman 2 in movie theaters and Superman Legacy. The future is bright. I'm not worried at all. Yusuf Al-Jawan, I'm glad they're making DC Studios separate from Warner. That separation is the best decision DC has made. Yes, thanks to David Zaslav. Well done. Match to 7 episodes only. There's no pleasing you, is there? It's a 7-episode animated series. I don't know how long the episodes will be. They could be 40-minute episodes. Scott Edwards, what about Avengers Kang Dynasty? I'm not that interested. Rolo, this is the first time DC has had a concrete plan. I don't WB should scrap it just because a few things might bomb. Well, listen, Rolo, you know, you could walk across the road and get run over. You know, they're not going to scrap anything. And, you know, they've you know, Zaslav has put his faith in Gunn and Saffron. So, you know, things may bomb. Anything may bomb in life. You know, don't get that really. Abraham Herrera, Creed 3 is also very promising. What an amazing year for movies. It's actually Marvel who's vastly inferior this year. Who would have thought? Me. Scott Edwards, I thought you were excited for the Kang stuff. Yes, I kind of am, but I don't know. I don't know. Majda, as for MCU, it's kind of sad how it fell off fast. It wouldn't be surprised if Feige leaves. I think he will. I've predicted that already. If Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars fails, because both films have awful writers. Yeah, I mean, look, potentially those films should be fucking peak. And if they fail with those, they deserve to lose their jobs. MSGT, I have no enthusiasm for any comic book movie this year other than Flash and maybe Guardians 3. I'm not sure why this is maybe. I'm tired of the studio drama. Maybe, but that's separate to me, MSGT. I focus on what I'm going to see. I don't get tired because of studio drama. at the end of the day. They're trying to sort their shit out over at WB and DC, and I give them a lot of credit for that. So, yeah. Rolo, I meant to say I don't think WB should scrap it because I heard you say they would sack Gunn and Saffron. Right. Basically, if the whole thing fails, if the plan fails, that's what's going to happen, right? Matched up. But it's because people keep on asking me, what if it fails? You know, what if water is fucking wet? Oh! Matched up. I mean, KD Writer wrote Quantumania, which was mediocre at best. NSW was Waldron, which made Loki. That was decent. And DS2, that was pretty divisive. What's DS2? Look, listen. They had an opportunity after Endgame. They were at their biggest stage. You know, they were bigger than fucking God, right? Then. They could have kept on going, being big, doing great movies that like they were ready. And they decided to go extremist, politically extremist, bad execution of social commentary. And She-Hulk literally attacked the audience. I mean, they're not all there. John, Man of Steel A, BVSC, wow. Wonder Woman A, James Gunn Suicide Squad A, Zack Snyder's Justice League B, wow. Bat Super, did you see the news about Sony and Amazon developing a Spider-Man Noir show? Yeah, I would much rather see those two companies doing Spider-Man than basically Disney. I'll match the secret was. Sam Dejan reviews, if they sell DC, the only studio that should get it is Amazon or Apple. I don't want Amazon getting it, by the way. I know what I just said about Sony and Amazon. I don't want a streaming service having anything to do with DC. Hopefully Warner Brothers Discovery succeed and they just stay independent. That's my wish. Scott Edwards, are you only excited for Mandalorian Season 3 and Ashoka? Yeah, I'm not interested in the Kathleen Kennedy side of Star Wars. Abraham Herrera, Faye got his pockets full of so much money now, and I can understand why he doesn't have the same drive. They should conclude the MCU as soon as possible and walk away with the wins they had. They won't conclude it, and the failure of the MCU isn't totally on Faye. It's also on Disney itself and, you know, the woke direction they decided to go in and the bad execution of social commentary. A lot of it is on Disney. Baz Super, I really hope the Amazon Spider-Man shows are good and do well. Rolo, the MCU lost its magic. Tony Stark built the Iron Man suit in a cave. Now there are college students doing the same thing. It's just not special anymore. It's not. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because back in phase 1, they were making the films the old-fashioned way. They were films. They had some interconnectivity. But ultimately, Iron Man 1 builds up Iron Man and that universe. Now, Iron Man 2 isn't the greatest of movies, but it still does a good job with the character of Tony Stark. Scott Edwards, what do you think of the Ashoka villain leaks? I'm excited. And I hope it's true. Sam Dejan reviews, I think after Avengers Secret Wars, they will reboot the MCU. Matched. I hope JL movie this time doesn't go for Apocalypse and starts with smaller stuff like Starro, Mongol, Sinestro. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know when we will get Justice League movie, or even if he's working on, planning anytime soon of doing Justice League. MSGT, but I do agree with you there, Matchdown. MSGT, well, I hope they sort it out. The oversaturated one-rut MCU is played out for me. The DCEU fumbled hard. Fingers crossed for Gunn swinging home runs with his DCU. MSGT, this is how I feel about the DCEU. There are a lot of films in there that work. And Snyder planned an interconnected, darker realism universe. And I think it was great, but it wasn't for everyone. So I don't think they mishandled it. They gave it to a man who was going to do it a certain way, and that wasn't for everyone. But I think Snyder's heart was in the right place. Scott Edwards, Superman and Lois screwed over us Arrowverse fans. They lied to us for 2 years. But you know what? They shouldn't have lied to you, but I'm glad they did what they did. Bad Super, maybe a jail movie to end phase 1. Maybe. Matched. I really hope we soon get a Star Wars movie. Rogue One was great. Solo was okay, while I hate Rise of Skywalker. My opinion, Ratchter, is that Disney Star Wars is absolute shit. Absolute shit. Apart from what Favreau and Filoni are doing. and they killed what George Lucas created. George Lucas's sequel trilogy should have been allowed to be made. He had excellent ideas. It was his baby. Then once you do that sequel trilogy, you can go off and do your own thing. Kathleen Kennedy has shut out this beautiful thing. And to me, I'm not interested. I'm simply not interested. I'll watch The Mandalorian. I'll watch Ahsoka. But even that isn't peak like Lucas did. But at least it's better than what Kennedy's side is doing. MSGT, I actually liked most of the DCEU. Yeah, me, you the same. Scott Edwards, do you think the Thrall will be in Mando season 3? Maybe. Abraham Herrera, Lang's daughter is an expert fighter and a massive genius. Just because every kid in the MCU is a super genius, yeah, she's a girl, obviously, so she has to be cleverer than all the men, doesn't she? Manchester, what you're saying kind of reminds me what WB did to Zach. Remind me what I was saying. Scott Edwards, maybe we'll get an Ahsoka movie. And, you know, I'll never forget, like, all the MCU fans shitting on Zack Snyder. And it's, you know, I remember going to see Captain America Civil War, and to me, that movie rips off BVS. Same movie, but, you know, the critics start saying it's the best movie they've ever seen and saying BVS is crap. The irony of that isn't lost on me. Scott Edwards, maybe we'll get an Ashoka movie. I would like that. I don't know why they don't let Filoni and, you know, Favreau make the Star Wars movie. Why that idiot is allowed to make a Star Wars movie, Taika Waititi, I don't know. John, new episode of The Last of Us tonight. Can't wait, John. I am loving it. Matchda. The Star Wars stuff, what Kathleen did and didn't listen to George. Yeah, absolute betrayal. Scott Edwards, we should have a Book of Boba Fett finale discussion. If I ever watch it, we'll have a discussion, yeah. It will be among other discussions, obviously. But yeah, for me, Star Wars is 6 movies from George Lucas, and all the animated stuff that Filoni's done has been absolutely brilliant. The rest of it, yeah, I like The Mandalorian. It's okay. Scott Edwards, we should match though. What do you think about that Lantern show that got announced? Yes, I'm very excited. He's comparing it to True Detective. It's all part of that shared story they're doing through DCU. I'm excited for it. Rolo, Civil War was done in reaction to BVS, and it made $1 billion, I think. Yes, it made $1 billion, and people liked it. The same movie as BVS, basically. They shat on BVS and said Civil War, the exact same movie, was better and superior. And that just tells you everything. That just tells you everything. MSGT was a rip-off. Fake told an executive that the BVS announcement forced Marvel to another gift. Civil War released the same year as BVS. Abraham Herrera, it warms my heart to know that Zack's movie will age like wine while the Marvel formula has aged horribly with just a few years. Yeah, I think in 20, 30 years, people will be, you know, because the Snyderverse has a cult following, and that's only going to get bigger. It's a bit like David Lynch's stuff and, you know, David Cronenberg stuff. They have a cult following now. Like Blade Runner didn't make any money, really. But now people think it's a, you know, a cinematic classic. It just tells you everything. Scott Edwards, what did you think of Luke and Ashoka scene in Book of Boba Fett? Yeah, I loved it. Not sure about the CGI with Luke, to be honest, though. I don't like the CG of Luke, young Luke. I think it looks terrible, if I'm honest. Scott Edwards, why do I hate the Avengers movies? I don't. I like the first Avengers movie. I like the second Avengers movie. I like Avengers Infinity War. In fact, I love Avengers Infinity War. And I don't like Avengers Endgame as much as... I think Avengers Endgame is my least favourite. So I like the other ones a lot more. MSGT and the MCU multiverse thing came about years after Flash went into production. Yep, they copied that as well. Multiple Spider-Man kit was locked on for Flash before No Way Home went into production. They're rip-off artists. Feige hasn't got a plan. Feige is a bullshitter. Feige is like the accidental prophet. Basically, Feige is like Mr. Bean in the Mr. Bean movie. Anyone seen the Mr. Bean movie when he rocks into the surgery and everyone thinks he's a fucking surgeon? That's Kevin Feige, right? Oh, hello. Oh, you must be the new Marvel president. Here you are. Put a jacket on, put a cap on, and talk to those fans out there. Rolo, No Way Home was done in response to The Flash, and it ended up releasing a few years ago. And the Flash movie is shitloads better than that. Scott Edwards, do you like the villain in I keep on. Aquaman. Yeah, Lost Kingdom. Do I like the villain in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? I keep on forgetting what the LK stands for. Yes, I love the villain. I love the villain. Match Day. It just kind of makes me sad because X-Men are my favorite thing in Marvel. Look, Bryan Singer. Say what you want about him, right? He's another Ezra Miller in a way, but Bryan Singer was a really great indie director before he became famous and he wasn't on drugs and he wasn't doing the other shit. He was a really good guy, good director, and he made both those X-Men movies as indie movies. But I don't think he's very good with a big budget. But those two movies are two of the best CBMs ever made. I don't expect Feige and the MCU to do a good job, and they're still going to use like Sir Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart. Now, I love those men. I do. But, you know, come on. Scott Edwards, since you like the first four, you should still at least watch Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. MSGT, the problem is that WB executives were such a mess that they could not get DC movies on screen before the Disney machine could copy and beat them. Yeah, I wouldn't criticize WB for that too much. It's very difficult because they were trying to make proper films and they were trying to take their time. Snyder was making proper movies. Snyder's movies are expensive. There's a lot to them, and he doesn't rush them, like Matt Reeves and like James Gunn is talking about, making sure they don't go into production without the script completed and stuff like that. Abraham Herrera, if Marvel applies the same formula to X-Men and Fantastic Four, then they will seal their fate. I agree. Scott Edwards, Pattinson will form his own Reeves-verse Justice League. Maybe. I don't really think Matt's interested in that kind of thing, but who knows? Well, Matt and James are talking to each other to make sure they don't tread on each other's toes. Match, I would want Batman Part 2 to have Mr. Freeze or Clayface as a villain. Well, Matt has kind of teased Clayface. I'm not sure about Mr. Freeze. He has mentioned Mr. Freeze as well. I think there's going to be an assaultment of villains in the Batman 2. Scott Edwards, do you like the Ahsoka versus Morgan Elizabeth fight? Yeah, Scott Edwards. MSGT, yeah, Abraham, the Phase 5 has to turn a corner from the routine that has become stale. Yeah, the problem is I can't see Feige being talented enough to change it up. I don't think Feige understand. Feige has got experience in making movies, but he wasn't really up the. His pay grade was very low during X-Men and Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2. So he wasn't that influential because people give him credit for that stuff as well. I just don't think he's not a writer. He's not a director. Basically, James Gunn is a writer, director. So he's got. I just think Feige is in trouble, and I think Disney are in trouble because they gambled everything on the MCU being successful forever. They need to change. They need to do something. I mean, the Blade movie has been an absolute clusterfuck. Delays. I don't think the lead actor is happy at all. Rolo, the Snyderverse could work under Elseworlds if cooler heads prevail. I agree, Rolo. I want to see it all. I love all the plans. And I want to see that Justice League 2. Jesus Christ, Zack Snyder in Justice League 2 as the Riddler solving the antiverse or whatever you call it equation. That's fucking amazing. That's something I would love to see. Scott Edwards, could Ashoka beat Thrawn hand to hand? Definitely. Michael can beat anyone. Abraham Herrera, you are right, MSGT. I hope they realise that. The problem is Abraham and MSGT. I don't think he's got the ability to change. I don't think he knows how to do it. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, who is the mastermind behind the beginning of the MCU? Is it Kevin Feige? or is it John Favreau who's killing it with Star Wars right now? I think John Favreau was probably at the start a little bit more involved, and I give more credit to Favreau. I think Feige isn't as talented and as a mastermind as people think. Even after the first Avengers, which was great, again, credit there to Joss Whedon, whether you like him or not. Then we went to 4-2, which was a terrible movie. Whose fault was that? Think about that for a minute. Iron Man 3, whose fault was that? You know, we got to be honest here. Scott Edwards, Black Manta and all will team up in Lost Kingdom. My theory, Rolo, John Favreau directed the Iron Man, right? Yes, he did, but I think he was involved a lot more than that. Credit for Iron Man has to go to John Favreau. John Favreau is a genius. John Favreau is a great actor. He's a great writer. He's a great director. I love John Favreau. He's a really, really good guy. And, you know, he didn't want to sack you-know-who from The Mandalorian either. He liked her. So, but Disney and Kennedy sacked her. In fact, here's a one for you. Imagine if John Favreau becomes Marvel Studios president. I think he could do a great job. Majda, do you think we will ever see Justice League Dark in live action? Because it has a bunch of great characters like Constantine, Madam X, Zatanna, Jason Blood. Yeah, I mean, J.J. Abrams was going to do a bunch of shows on HBO Max, but none of that's happening now. I do believe with Swamp Thing coming, we're going to get all of that as well, because it's all part of the same universe, Majda. Abraham Herrera, you've got a point, Mick. Favreau might have been Marvel's secret ingredient all along. I think if he becomes Marvel Studios president, as a DC fan, I will be worried. Scott Edwards, Orm and Mantle were both in Snyder's Legion of Doom. They were. MSGT, I'm all in with Gunn. It's not that. He's just a visionary who loves the material and is closely attached to movie making. He is also a visionary who is totally focused on the wider build. Rolo, Favreau is good. Remember when he was Foggy Nelson in Ben Affleck's Daredevil? Yep. And also, he was in Friends. Do you remember when he wanted to become the ultimate fighting champion? I love that. Abraham Herrera, odd how he went to the Star Wars universe and Marvel started to fall apart. Yeah, do you remember when they sacked him? Because Iron Man 2 wasn't great, so they blamed him and they sacked him. That was a mistake. But to be fair, I mean, look, I like Phase 1. I think Phase 1's really, really solid. And the first Avengers is great. But again, Joss Whedon co-wrote and directed the first Avengers. Credit for the first Avengers must go to Joss Whedon, whether you like the bloke or not. And if he was given enough time to do his own Justice League movie, Joss would have made a great Justice League movie. Whether you like him or not, very talented man. Scott Edwards, could Arrowverse continue in the Elseworld banner? I doubt it. Matchda, I'm a big MCU fan, and to be honest, if it fails, it will be their fault. So, let it die, but I'm still excited for some solo stuff like Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man 4. MSGT, Arrowverse is finished past its expiration date. Absolutely. They've had so many seasons. It's done. It's done. I mean, basically, it came out the other day that the CW in its lifetime never made any profit. Now, I think the previous leadership of WB may now know why poor David Zaslav needs to raise $3 billion. Match that the Flash should have ended after season 4 or 5. Yeah, I mean, look, it kept Grant Gustin in a job. I love Grant. I think Grant's been the one endearing thing about the Flash series. Rolo, I might watch Deadpool 3. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Deadpool 3 and bringing in Wolverine, and they're obviously bringing back Sir Ian and Sir Patrick. I mean, it'll be interesting and people will go and watch it. Of course they will. But I think that film's going to have problems as well. Because I think they don't want an R-rated movie. And I think that Reynolds has forced them into it. And I think there's going to be a lot of uncomfortable situations there. I'll probably watch Deadpool 3, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't care that deeply about it. I do think it's bait. It's nostalgia bait. It's as simple as that. I mean, look, Sir Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart are extremely old. I mean, Sir Patrick Stewart, when you watch Picard, he's barely struggling to string two words together. It's not a good thing to watch, personally. Abraham Herrera, the last season I watched was when Nora Allen came from the future. It was so, oh my God, I never watched that. I think I may have watched an episode of it. She was so fucking annoying. So annoying. Oh, you mean his child? I thought you meant when the Speed Force was Nora Allen. Jesus Christ. Now that was annoying. Rolo, do you think Reynolds would stay as Deadpool in the MCU after the third movie? I don't think so. I don't think his relationship with Feige is that great. Unfortunately for Ryan, they bought 20th Century Fox. Yeah, so I think maybe Deadpool 3 may be the last. I don't think the Deadpool sequel was that good either, to be honest. I think the first movie was great. I think the second movie wasn't so great. And I think this movie may not be that great either. Abraham Herrera, Deadpool will not be the same Deadpool we know and love. I hope I'm wrong. I agree. Matchster, so how do you think DCU will go each year? Like 2 movies each year or maybe 3? I suspect we're going to go 2 movies. I think they're definitely not going to outstretch themselves. Maybe 3, but I don't think so. I think MCU made a mistake when they started banging out 3 or 4 movies. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Because you can't get quality from that because you're rushing them out. And you can tell that they've overloaded the VFX artists who are complaining about the workload. It's just, it's too much. It's too much. So I think the best thing is if you have a DCU movie and an Elseworlds movie every year. I think that would be great. Be interesting. And obviously they're going to do stuff on HBO Max or whatever. We know there's a WBTV streaming service, free to air streaming service coming. I don't know if that will be available just for the US as per usual, or if the rest of us will have access to it. We'll have to wait and see. Rolo, Deadpool might make money from being rated R. Well, let's see. Because don't forget, this is a Disney rated R movie. This ain't a Warner Brothers rated R movie, right? There's a difference between Joker and basically there's a difference between WB making an R-rated movie and Disney making an R-rated movie. Think about that for a minute. Abraham Herrera, Disney did to Marvel what that guy from The Founder did to the McDonald's brothers. Yeah. Basically, yeah. That's super. That would be perfect. 1 main universe movie and 1 Elseworld per year. Yeah, perfect balance. You don't want to overload it because basically the Elseworld movie will have a different team making it, and obviously the DCU team will be making the DCU movie, so you don't need to overload it. Rolo, will WB basically have free streaming services? I think that HBO Max will end up just being a place for HBO content. It hasn't worked out for them. HBO Max was the wrong name and wrong brand. People didn't even know it was a WB streaming service. I think the WB TV streaming service, the free one, and I think free-to-air streaming services, ad-based streaming services are the future. I've been watching ITVX from the UK, and it's fucking amazing. So I think that's the future, and I think HBO Max won't be where all the content's coming out, and this is why they're launching WBTV. And also, I think this is why Discovery Plus and HBO Max are no longer merging. Matchster, do you think we will get more Elseworld properties? I hope so, Matchster. I hope so. I mean, Constantine 2 surely is going to be Elseworld as well. But I hope they really use that banner to its full potential. MSGT, I think Zaslav would like to see at least a couple DCU movies annually, but he has been clear that the studio will refuse to rush movies out the door to meet deadlines. Yet they've been pretty clear about that the DC brand comes first. That's why Batgirl was shelved. whether Leslie Grace likes it or not, that film was not good enough to be on a movie screen. It was good enough to be on HBO Max, good enough to be on the CW, and the test audience told Walter Hamada that. Walter Hamada told them, asked them, is this good enough for a movie theatre? And the test audience said no. There's no con here. That's why they had a test audience there, I have a friend who was at that actual test screening. The movie wasn't terrible, but it wasn't of a quality to release. Basically, Blue Beetle is of better quality. That's why it's being released. Rolo, WBTV will basically be free, but we'll have ads. Yep, which means you don't pay a subscription. Match that. Honestly, if you see that that DCEU had one movie 1 year and then there wasn't a movie for 3 years, but if we could have 2 each year, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I think that you could have a DCU movie out, maybe 2 DCU movies out, and an Elseworld movie. I don't know, but I do think they're going to do things properly. I think they're not going to mess about. So I'm happy we have to wait till 2025 for Superman Legacy and the Batman 2. Of course, Matt takes his time with his movies. He's a snail. And I'm glad. I want people to take their time. We don't need it to be rushed. MSGT, I think Elseworlds was a necessity to accommodate the existing Reeves and Phillips franchise. I doubt we will see an Elseworld title anytime soon. Establishing the DCEU is a priority. Well, you're going to get Batman 2, you're going to get Joker 2 next year, and you're going to get Constantine 2, all under that banner already. I believe we will get projects in the Elseworld. MSGT, yeah, it sucks that we have to wait until 2025. No, I don't think it does suck. But if that's what it takes, I support some patience. Rolo, I think WBTV should still have a premium option with a subscription for no ads. I think they all do that. I mean, ITVX does that as well. But yeah, I think it's a great option. I think it's as I say, the future is ad streaming because that's where the money is. There's no money in exclusive subs. Subscriptions you just pay off your tax with that. Rolo, I think Matchda, do you think James will direct Superman Legacy? It's looking that way at the moment. That's what the media think. He's not really saying anything about it. I think that's a situation that could go either way. I think at this moment in time, 75% of me says he's going to direct it. It's his vision. Why wouldn't he? But I think there's another maybe 20-15% where he's thinking, maybe I need to hand this off to someone else. A bit like what Christopher Nolan did with Man of Steel. I don't know. I mean, I think personally he needs to direct this movie. But if you think he's not capable of doing it, and I know he's a man that is very confident about his own ability, maybe he'll pass it off. But I doubt he will, because this is the launch pad. This movie is very important. This is James Gunn. This movie is James Gunn's whole career. Make no mistake about that. It's extremely important to him. MSGT, but even Constantine 2 comes from an existing movie and plan. It's not exactly new. No, it's not new, but it's there and it's part of that branding. And, basically, even though we didn't have an official Elseworlds, the Joker, was Elseworlds. And the Batman was Elseworlds. So there was already kind of an unofficial banner there, if you like. But I do believe MSGT, they will eventually take advantage of that. And of course, the Black Superman movie would be under the Elseworlds banner as well. Rolo, remember when Matthew Vaughn wanted to direct Superman? Yes, that's true. So who knows? Who knows? I think anything's possible at this moment. Bat Super, yeah, the Elseworld label will have content coming out regularly. The type of movies that are coming out under that label are what we have had in live action before. Matchda, how well do you think 2023 DC films will do? Personally, hype for Shazam 2, Flash a lot, Blue Beetle could be great, and Aquaman 2, I don't know what to think. I think that's how everyone sees it, Matchda. I think Shazam Fury of the Gods is going to have trouble making a lot of money. I think it will either make what it did, what the first film did, or they may just creep onto 500 million if they do well. I know from what people say, it's an excellent movie. It does what you expect a sequel from the first film to do. I think the release of the Flash trailer kind of stepped all over the hype for Shazam! Fury of the Gods as well. But personally, I would advise people to go and see it because I think it's going to be great. But I see that struggling. The Flash movie has got great potential to do well, but we will see. Blue Beetle, it all depends on the general audience. Are they going to come out to see this movie? Because most people haven't heard of Blue Beetle. And Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, potentially it's James Wan. It could be great, but who knows? So I think that these will all be great movies. I don't think they will be bad movies. I don't think they will fail critically. I don't think, but you never know. But in terms of box office, DC is very, very unpredictable. Rolo, I think Static Shock, Wonder Twins, and some other scrap projects will come back for Elseworlds. Maybe, but they've all been scrapped, yeah. MSGT, well, I hope so. I would not like to see DC fall into a one-rut DCU after Reeves and Phillips are finished. DC has the opportunity here to really widen out the brand. I agree, MSGT. I absolutely agree with that. Bat Super Nolan movies would have been Elseworld if they came out now. Agreed. The Elseworld label will be home for directors who want to tell a shorter contained story. I'll tell you why I know that they're going to be building out Elseworlds, because James Gunn said the parameters of quality for Elseworlds will be bigger than DC Universe. He said that. So they're planning on bringing other filmmakers in to do other projects. More words on that. MSGT, the mainstream is smart enough to understand that the DCEU is merely one DC franchise among other DC franchises. Yeah, listen, I mean, look, it's simple. You know, at the end of the day, people know where to find the Joker. You know, I want to watch the sequel to Joker. Is that got anything to do with DCU? Obviously fucking hasn't. That's obvious. The Batman 2, obvious they know it's nothing to do with the other universe. You just have to listen, don't you? MSGT, for Disney's Marvel, the MCU is all there is. They are even pushing Deadpool into the MCU after his next movie. Yeah, and I think that's just typical of what they're doing. They, you know, that could have been Elseworlds. Deadpool could have been Elseworlds. And that could have kind of, you could have had the new X-Men as part of that or something. They could have done something there. But yeah, I think that's all they know. Match, DC has also way better characters than Marvel, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Rolo, Elseworld is a good opportunity for Spielberg's DC project. Yes, Black Hawk. Let's see what happens. He did meet with Zaslav several months ago. I think maybe that's what they were discussing. I mean, he's not getting any younger. I would like to see Steven Spielberg make a comic book movie, and especially a DC one. MSGT, Fox's X-Men is not the MCU. No, it's not. But somehow they're kind of pushing them in there. Crazy, insane. It's a bit of a mess, if you ask me. I mean, Gunn's been very vocal about the MCU lately. He said the MCU wasn't as planned out as his DCEU is. And I mean, that's a huge statement to make. I mean, is he trying to say that Feige was making it up as he was going along? Because guess what? Feige was making it up as he went along. People think he's a Marvel fan. He isn't even a Marvel fan. That's what the funny thing is. Like Feige. Feige is just a construct. He should have got out while the going was good. If he allowed Victoria Alonso to take over after Endgame and let her fail, I mean, and I think the problem is now Victoria Alonso is probably the one running everything more than him. I think Disney have made him hand it over unofficially. And I think that's why there's a problem there. It's a bit like the difference between the disparity between Wonder Woman 2017 and Wonder Woman 84. And I always said, how could the person who directed Wonder Woman 2017 have directed Wonder Woman 84? Well, that's an easy answer to that question, because she really didn't do much towards Wonder Woman 2017. Zack and the comic book writer wrote the movie, and the comic book writer wrote the screenplay. They wrote that movie together, and Zack did all the choreography and VFX for Wonder Woman, and probably directed a big chunk of it as well. That is Snyder's movie. When you see the No Man Land sequence, tell me that isn't Zack Snyder's choreography. Please, you really think that's Patty Jenkins? It's fucking obvious. Brolo, Glenn Powell for Hal Jordan and Wayne T. Carr for John Stewart. MSGT, oops, I meant how the MCU, and yeah, I've never seen Marvel characters as being very fascinating. There's a sci-fi and legendary aspect to DC. As a kid, I liked Spider-Man. I thought that he ticked my boxes. I loved the Incredible Hulk because of the Jekyll and Hyde kind of inspiration that Stan Lee took from that. So I like the Hulk. I love Spider-Man. I love the Hulk. And I love the Incredible Hulk series when I was growing up as well. I think Fantastic Four is pretty cool. But when you get, the thing is, with the difference between Marvel and DC is when you go further and further into the Marvel roster, it gets less and less interesting. But the more you get into, deeper you get into the DC roster, it gets even more and more interesting. It really does. Character like the Question is fascinating. Black Lightning. He's not an A-list character, but Black Lightning is an amazing character. And if James was to introduce him into DCU, I'd be very happy. And I think that the Arrowverse show was really, really good as well. So you asked me, Rolo, Glenn Powell for Hal Jordan. I don't know who he is, and Wayne T. Carr for John Stewart. I don't think Wayne will ever play John Stewart unless it's in the Snyderverse. Match, should I watch Black Lightning? Yeah, watch it on its own. Watch it on its own. It's a really good show. I like it. I mean, I've always liked Black Lightning, even before that show. I think he's a great character. He really is. And I mean, the villain, fucking hell, the villain, especially the one in the first season, because I didn't see every season, but the first season, oh, wow, yeah. So I would watch it, yeah. That's something from Arrowverse I can really, really recommend. And I mean, that got cancelled early. MSGT, yes, Spider-Man was cool growing up, but he's in New York City, whereas Superman is in Metropolis, next to not New Jersey. But DC has a whole separate world creation about it. Yeah, look, DC is a Pandora's box. There's a lot more. I don't know how to explain DC, but it really had a diverse mentality of writing in the 30s, 40s, and especially the 60s, which kind of forged what you see today. So that's why it's a lot more fantastical, I think, DC as well. There is a lot of realism there, but Marvel have always boasted that, their characters were more relatable than DC. But if I want to see real world people, I can get a chair and sit by the street. I don't really need to see that. So I don't care if Spider-Man is a real teenager. I don't need to watch a real teenager. I didn't when I was a teenager, and I certainly don't now. I don't want to see myself on the screen. Not that I ever have. I just want to see great, fantastical stories and characters done well. That's what I want to see. That's the key to me. I don't want to see myself on the screen. I don't think seeing yourself on the screen is really important. I think it's quite boring, actually. And that's just my personal point of view. Matcha, are you a fan of Doctor Who? Matcha, I adore Doctor Who. I was introduced via the Peter Davison era. My first episode was when Tom Baker falls over the tower, becomes Peter Davison. Loved the Peter Davison era. Wasn't a big fan of McCoy. Wasn't a big fan of Baker. Loved Doctor Who, the movie. And I loved the revival. Well, not the biggest fan of the latest series, but the rest of it, absolutely loved it. So I'm a big Doctor Who fan. Really excited for Shooty to play the Doctor. I'm glad RTD's back. Yes. So if you ever want to talk about Doctor Who, I have posted lots of Doctor Who videos. I do make Doctor Who videos, so it's not just DC. MSGT, how much? Mickey's a huge on Doctor Who. Yeah. Matched up. I own 3 stories: Genesis of the Daleks, Vengeance on Varos, Remembrance of Daleks. Yes. Now, basically, I'll tell you what I own. I own, basically, physically, I have Doctor Who the movie and all of the revival. Now, on my Amazon, I bought, obviously, the very first Doctor Who with William Hartnell. I forgot what, you know, the one that introduces Susan, that one. I've got all those episodes. I've got the Peter Davison's final episode as well. But yeah, I adore Doctor Who. Doctor Who is fascinating. Master, I'm excited for the new season because Russell is back and he knows how to write Doctor Who. So hopeful. Yeah, I'm very excited. I love shooting, and my good friend Millie is the companion, and I'm so excited because she was great in Coronation Street. And yeah, and everyone when she left Coronation Street was saying why she left Coronation Street. And yes, so she's playing Ruby Sunday, who doesn't like Sundays but loves Mondays. Not really. That's not a thing. But yeah, yes, I'm very, very excited about that. So yeah, Doctor Who is brilliant. When Doctor Who's good, it's brilliant. There's nothing better. Oh, well, you know what I mean. And I've actually started getting into the Mentalist. Oh my God, that is a great show. Again, that's from Gotham TV series creator and showrunner Bruno Heller. What a genius. Love that show. Mate, so I hope it's only Millie and that we don't get more companions soon, kind of do it like with Amy. I think because they promoted it with Shooty and Millie, I don't think there'll be anyone else in the TARDIS. But I think there's going to be a lot of people from her life. I think he's going to do what he did with Rose, Mickey and Jackie and the dad, sometimes dead dad, Pete. I think Anita Dobson is playing a neighbour. I think she will have a supporting cast. MSGT, I have a younger sister-in-law who loves Doctor Who. Oh, she's got taste. I'm not at all. She gets me Doctor Who items every birthday and every Christmas. She says she will convert me. Oh, that's sweet, isn't it? Rolo, is the Reeves Gotham PD show still happening? No, it's dead. It's dead. Because basically it was going to go down the defund the police kind of propaganda way. And Zaslav said, no, you ain't doing that. Master, yeah, so basically a big reset. Absolutely. The new Doctor Who is a reset. I think we're going multiverse in the new Doctor Who as well. David Tennant is the Doctor at the moment. I mean, that's who regenerated when Jodie left. So that's going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of kind of twists to come with that. And look, we're getting the Christmas episodes back. They're shooting a Christmas episode right now. It's all very exciting. What Chris Chibnall did to Doctor Who was unforgivable. I don't care that he casted a female doctor. I don't care about any of that. But what he did was make underwhelming characterizations, and anyone who makes Bradley Walsh boring should be arrested for crimes against humanity. Bat Super, the Mentalist is so effing good. That moment they reveal he had a mental breakdown, Bat Super, I cried. And that episode when the lady said to him that his daughter was asleep when the person, I'm going to cry, when that Red John was killing her and the mother. I mean, that's just heartbreaking. I love it because this actor, I think, I saw the actor years ago in a soap called Eastry, and I never knew he was capable of this. But basically, this character is smiling on the outside, but he's crying on the inside. That's what he is. And the revelations at the end of the final seasons about Red John and how you see him come apart at the seams, it's a great show. It's a great 5 seasons. It's amazing. Just a great show. And Bruno Heller is a genius. Anyone who creates the Joker from Gotham, right? That Gotham Joker, that is the best live action Joker as far as I'm concerned, is a genius. Match, I squealed when Jodie regenerated into him. Now, I think a lot of us knew that was coming, but yeah, it's very exciting for fans, isn't it? Oh, new teeth. I know those teeth. What? 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 I mean, actually, Jodie's last episode was probably her best episode, as far as I'm concerned. And the Master was the star of the show. I want them to keep that Master. MSGT, yes, you surprised me with a Doctor Who mouse, a Doctor Who tie, a Doctor Who poster that I had to put up, a Doctor Who Funko Pop. Wow, she is keen. Matchday kind of sucks. We need to wait till November. Yeah, listen, I think I needed a break after the Chibnall era. And what I did after Jodie's final episode, I rewatched the entirety of the revival. I tried to rewatch the Jodie era. I didn't get far. I just couldn't. But the rest of it, I really had a good time rewatching it. And I was rewatching an episode and Doctor Who Confidential straight after, which was a lot of fun because I love the behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, it's a big year for DC fans, and it's a big year, probably an even bigger year. It's the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. Rolo, what's on ITVX? Oh my God, Rolo, it's amazing. You can watch Smallville, you can watch One Tree Hill, you can watch the OC. It's all free. It's all free. Now, there is a premium bundle that you can pay for without ads and stuff. But yeah, there is so much on there. I mean, I don't know if you're British. If you remember the sitcom Only When I Laugh, there's an Only When I Laugh channel on ITVX. I love that fucking sitcom. There's loads on there. That's super. I feel so much for him when I watch the show. Patrick Jane is one of the best characters of all time. Amazing. And obviously it's prior to the entertainment industry apocalypse, where they destroyed entertainment and they allowed these nutters to take over, because that's what we used to get before, and that's what we'll never get again. It's beautiful. It's fucking amazing. And I've only watched 10 episodes and it's amazing. No, I didn't watch the original run, but I did kind of catch a couple of the later episodes when he's coming apart at the seams. He's an amazing character because he's trying to keep himself together, and you can tell that he's crying on the inside. He's constantly smiling, but that's just the defense mechanism. Imagine this has happened to people in real life where, you know, a family member's murdered. How do you cope with that? I mean, he started off as a con artist. So this character goes through this amazing journey, and I like him because he's not perfect. He's such a flawed character, and I like the team. I like Lisbon. I like obviously the two who kind of like each other. I like the other guy. They're all great. The characters are really good as well. MSGT, I have years of Doctor Who gifts. It's become the tradition. Rolo, I'm British, Great Britain. Awesome. Matchda, are you looking forward to X-Men 97 revival? The animation. Well, let's hope it's actually faithful to what's come before it, but I doubt it. Matchda, so I heard you watched The Last of Us. I still haven't gotten with episode 3. Heard people criticizing it a lot, like it was so mixed. Right, episode 3 is really good. It's literally a gay love story. I mean, if that offends you, then you're not going to enjoy it. I think for me, it was just weird, episode 3, because so quickly we're not focusing on Joel and Ellie, and we're going to this totally different thing. So that was a bit weird, but the story in itself was very, very well done. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I don't think that's not my favorite episode. I think 4 and 5 are much better episodes. Matchda, no, Low, I don't mind romances. I mean, I'm not really a romantic, like watching romantic stuff, but yeah, it was all right. MSGT, very off topic here, but in regards to some great British TV, have you heard anything about whether or not Line of Duty is finished? I don't think it's finished. I just don't think it's coming back anytime soon. But I think it will come back, yeah. I think they'll definitely do one more. I think they have to. And I'm still waiting for Bodyguard, which was made by the same guy. Bodyguard season 1 was very good. I don't think Line of Duty is finished, because I think if it was finished, we would have heard, like Happy Valley told us, final season, that's that. I don't think we're done with Line of Duty. Yes, I've been rewatching The Mentalist. Everybody Loves Raymond is another fucking amazing sitcom I love. Rolo, so Discovery and HBO Max are still going to be around. Uh, well, I think Discovery Plus is definitely sticking around. I mean, it's something that Zaslav built up from the ground up. Very successful. There's no reason why not. But they're not merging anymore. HBO Max, I think, will go like just with HBO content in the end. I don't think it's going to be a Warner Brothers streaming service. I think that's what, and I think WBTV will be more for the Warner Brothers stuff. MSGT. So like Sherlock, I like Sherlock. British TV shows tend to go on hiatus, and then out of nowhere, years later, another season comes out. Bodyguard was great. Well, the only reason we're not getting more Sherlock anytime soon is because the actors are too busy. Stephen Moffat said he would like to do more immediately. But yeah, Bodyguard was great. Magic. I don't know if I'm weird or not, but I would prefer Supergirl to be a blonde than brunette. I don't know. Am I weird? No, I don't think you're weird. I just think you're probably a traditionalist. I mean, look, it would be great, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, they decided that Supergirl in the Flash movie would have black hair, and that's an interesting thing. But she's not an OG Supergirl. That's a thing to be. She's a Flashpoint Supergirl that becomes a proper Supergirl, but she doesn't now because they changed that. But I mean, it doesn't bother me that deeply, the hair color. I could have lived with it. It wouldn't have bothered me. So the Supergirl series stuck with the blonde, and the Supergirl movie stuck with the blonde. MSGT matched her. So could Sasha continue as Supergirl in DCEU, or will we see a new actress? I think it's a decision that hasn't been made yet, and I suppose it depends on the public, really. But my guess is that he will recast Supergirl. MSGT, I always thought it odd that they always showed Kryptonians with black hair, but Supergirl was a blonde. Yeah, that is a bit weird, but it's a bit like Everybody Loves Raymond. He's got dark hair. Deb's got black hair, and all his kids have got blonde hair. Yeah, so someone needs to speak to someone. Yeah, there's no blondes, is there? Bad Super. DCU might be the first time Bruce Wayne has black hair in live action. Maybe, but they may go OG. But for me, like dark brown, I can't tell the difference between dark brown and black hair. To me, it's all the same. Shiny Pokemon Hunter, my brother in Christ God said to forgive, so I forgive Ezra Miller. MSGT, go, Mick. Got to go, Mick. Kids are pestering me. Laters. Thank you for joining. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Master, what do you think about Gotham? I saw and I wasn't interested. Like, what is it about, and is it worth checking out? So basically, Gotham is about Jim Gordon, a young Jim Gordon, and a young child. Basically a Bruce Wayne who's a child, and it really all starts off with the murder of the Waynes. It's a very good show. The highlight of the show is the villains, the rogues gallery of Batman. So we see them when they're younger. They're starting out. We get a version of Oswald Cobblepot, the Riddler, who's working with the GCPD. It's a very, very good show. And as I say, it's the best. They have a best. I mean, you have to wait a couple of seasons, but they introduce a great version of the Joker. I think it was really good. I don't think it's a show that I couldn't stick with for 20 episodes a season, but it really had some great moments, and the characterizations were great. So definitely worth a checking out. Yes, I think it's worth checking out and see how you get on with it. I think the series finale drops the ball, but I thought they did a great Selena Kyle. So yes, I'm hyped. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. Can't wait. Can't wait for all the good stuff we're going to get. I think Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible will be the hit of the year. Major, do you think The Flash deserves a good villain? Absolutely. Major, like The Flash doesn't even have a Flash villain. Well, he's got loads of great villains in his rogue gallery. Rona, what do you think Chapter 2 of Gods and Monsters will be like? Well, we don't know if Chapter 2, I mean, if you're talking about Chapter 2 of the first phase, which is called Gods and Monsters, I've already said that I think that we'll get a Wonder Woman movie and we'll get a Green Lantern movie. He's definitely going to unleash some surprise projects out of there as well. But when he says Gods and Monsters, he means Gods and Monsters. So anything is possible. I mean, I suppose you could even argue that Doomsday's a monster, but they're not going to go there, are they? No way. Maybe. Maybe. Who knows? Master, I think it's finally DC's time to shine. I agree. It's now or never, isn't it? Now or never. But they have made some really good films in the past few years. There's no question about that. There are some really great DC movies in the DCEU. Joker was great. The Batman was great. You know, the Nolan trilogy was great. You know, there's lots of stuff to be proud of, for sure. Right, they need time before they do Doomsday again. BVS left a bad taste. Yeah, I mean, listen, I didn't mind Doomsday and BVS, but yeah, obviously, people feel it was too soon. He wasn't the OG Doomsday. He wasn't the OG Doomsday. He wasn't the OG Doomsday for sure. There's no question about that. So I don't think we'll see Doomsday anytime soon, but who knows? We're definitely going down a different direction. Matchda, we need a good Superman movie because as much as I liked Man of Steel, we haven't had a really good suits movie since the 1970s. I think Man of Steel is definitely a good movie, a great movie. But the question is it a great Superman movie? John, I think Mission Impossible and the Super Mario Bros. Movie will be the biggest hits of this year. Well, I definitely think the latest Mission Impossible, I think Tom Cruise, I think because of Top Gun Maverick, people are going to go to his movies now and they're going to be the biggest things ever. So he's the big star now. And the Mario Brothers movie, that's an interesting one to see how much. Will it break records, for example? I mean, will it do Disney animation money from the part? It'll be interesting how that movie is perceived by critics and audiences. So I'm interested in that. Because it's animated after all. I definitely think that gaming content is starting to get better and better. Obviously, The Last of Us, the Sonic movies, they're kind of creating, you know, a kind of Sega cinematic universe. And I think so far it's been absolutely fantastic. Top draw. I mean, you can't really see the Marvels doing great business. I mean, I think it'll be solid, like all MCU stuff, but I don't see it being the film of the year. Otherwise, why are they delaying it till November? That was panic because of the reactions to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. There's no question about that. There's no coincidence that a few days later, he's delaying the movie. And the way they do it is hilarious. They start advertising posters and saying, come and see it in movie theaters in November, like nothing's happened, like nothing's changed. It's hilarious. But I am intrigued about the Mario Brothers movie, and I hope it's really good. And it looks, for example, for me, it does look really, really good. At the very least, I think it's going to be fun time at the movie theater. Big fan of like Super Mario Kart, all the Nintendo gaming in terms of Mario. So I think gaming is the next thing now, isn't it? I think gaming is going to be more peak than comic book heroes. But I think CBMs will, if you make good CBMs and good CBM franchises, people will come. But I think basically Marvel has killed the enthusiasm for CBMs a little bit, I think, definitely, because it's just too much. We've had too much. You can have too much of a good thing, can't you? I think it's like when Disney bought Star Wars and we heard that we were going to have a Star Wars movie every year. And when you first hear that, you think, wow, inject it in my veins. But then we got it and we realized what we were getting every year wasn't good enough. And it wasn't Lucas Star Wars, it was Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars. And it wasn't very, very good. Match to June 23rd will be so great. The Flash across the Spider-Man versus Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, Transformers. Yes, there's a lot coming this year. Let's see what sticks and what doesn't. It'll be interesting. I'm definitely excited about the Flash movie. I don't know what to think of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Transformers, not overly hyped for. And of course, Across the Spider-Verse sounds interesting. The first movie was great. So I think that could be one of the big movies of the year as well. If it's as good as the first one, yeah, that's going to be big. But of course, that's nothing to do with the MCU. So if that does well, that's Marvel from Sony, not Marvel from Disney. John, did you ever watch Super Mario Brothers Super Show back in the 80s? I didn't, John, no. But there's a lot of excited Mario fans. I mean, as I say, growing up, even in my 20s, I played Mario Kart. I loved the original Super NES Mario Kart. That was the one. Stick the cartridge in, play Mario Kart. It was awesome. I still think Nintendo have the best gaming system. I still think they have the most unique games. And I think they have the more fun games. It's just my opinion. I think what's great about Nintendo, they're so different to PlayStation and Xbox. And I think that's what keeps them selling. Where Xbox and PS are just literally, I think they're like for like, really. I think that even Sega back in the day was doing something unique. Sega. I remember. Rolo, Illuminations have outdone themselves with Mario. Well, I love Illuminations. I love what they do with Despicable Me and the Minions. I love Minions Rise of Gru. They're an excellent group of people. They really are. They're talented. They enjoy what they do. I love them. And they're nailing Disney to the floor, which makes me even happier. Yeah, Mario looks amazing. Jodie Blake, not the saga lol. Not the saga lol. I don't know what you're talking about. John, and Nintendo are for all ages. Yeah, they're for all ages, and I think it's unique. I think I'd rather have like a Nintendo system, which I don't have, but if I had I think I would rather go for Nintendo than PS or Xbox because, yeah. I mean, I suppose if you're into like the mainstream gaming, you would get an Xbox, you would get a PS5. But for me, I just think the gaming of Nintendo is so clever and unique. But super. Mario, Sonic, Crash Bandicoot, Rayman, and all those games are some of the best games. I love that genre of games. Absolutely. I love Sonic. Sonic was fun. And I love Mario. And back in the day, and I think we're talking about the 90s, really, aren't we? Mario and Sonic were the best things out there. And maybe they're still the best things out there. I think what's happened with like PS games and Xbox games is they're getting more and more reality based and they're not really games anymore. Most of it's story. but definitely a big Nintendo fan. In fact, back in the day, I had a Sega and a Nintendo, and I got more enjoyment from them and those games than I ever have anything on the Xbox or PS. Rolo, I like story. I do like story modes in games. I do. It's great, but I think it's become too much about that now rather than, the old-fashioned games where they were just fun games like Sonic, like Mario Kart. Brilliant. I mean, Mario Kart is a racing game, but it's got character to it. It's got fun to it. It's just brilliant. I think the reason I think Nintendo are doing so well still after all these years, and they've been going longer than Xbox and PlayStation. But that's it. I don't want reality in my games. I want fantasy. Realism can be in 1 out of 10 games, but nowadays there is too much realism. Yeah, it's boring. I mean, I know the kids probably like the realism, but yeah. Jody Blake, I had a Nintendo. Most of the games with stories take away the fun in games. Yeah, Jody, I don't mind like the story. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, for example, Injustice 2. Um, the story basis of that is like watching a good DC movie. Probably the story element in those games is better than most DC movies. It's great, but yeah, it takes away because I grew up with the Commodore 64 and the Atari, and they were just basic games, like basic graphics and shit. But the gameplay was just fun. That's it. It was fun. It took your mind off you. It was just fun. And I think games are not as fun anymore. People, and I mean, you've got serious gamers. I mean, don't want to offend anyone, but I think people take gaming far too seriously, and there's no fun in it anymore. You can't play someone online anymore because they go, "You're shit." I remember playing someone at Pro Evolution or FIFA, and they'll go, "You're shit, fuck off." People are so rude because they take themselves so seriously. It's like they ask you online, "Are you a gamer?" Like on Twitter, "Are you a gamer?" Don't say you're a gamer if you're not an expert gamer. Well, no, I'm not a gamer. I'm not an expert gamer. I play games for fun when I'm bored. Jody Blake, I agree. Mazda, any of you Pokemon fans? No, but I used to sell the cards when I used to work in a toy shop. When they were peak. John, the first Mario game I ever played was Super Mario World. Wonderful game on the Super Nintendo, my favorite game system ever. And after that, I was a fan. But Mario Kart is the fucking Don. I want to make a Super Mario movie, a Super Mario Kart movie, because I know what I would have to do. I'd take a character, I'd make them a loser, and I'd make Mario Kart like a Rocky story or something. It'll be such fun. Rolo, oh, this reminds me of when Gunn said games would be canon to the DCU. Does that mean that video games will be in the slate? Well, yes, the franchise, seriously, I know you're kidding around, but yeah, gaming is all part of this plan. And I think if he can pull the gaming element off, because we've been gagging for great DC games for years and not got them, apart from the odd one, I think that's great. And basically, the games will be around the story, the Gods and Monsters story. They pull that off, that's amazing. Aaron earned and Iron Man earned. Catch all the supernatural Dejins. Pokemon is just a card game. All video games are based on demonic entities, genies, and so on. Okay, Aaron. Well, listen, it's all brainwashing, isn't it, at the end of the day? It ain't good for you, but it's fun. I mean, even my parents were boring, were going on about how computer games were bad for us. And to be honest with you, it does delete the grey matter, doesn't it? And I used to love the Commodore 64. There was this Space Invader game called Delta. Used to love that game. Paperboy. Used to love Paperboy. Aaron earned an iron earn. At the end of the day, subliminal mind control. Yeah, but everything is that. Twitter is that. Social media is that. TikTok is that. Instagram is that. It's all that. TV is, all the films that we like geek out of, it's all the same. Jodie Blake, yeah, Jodie Blake, Paperboy was fun. Back then, that was a hygienic, that was like proper. But yeah, great game. I used to love it. Used to love Paperboy on the C64. Loved it. And I never used to like people who had Spectrums. So basically, if you had a Spectrum, you were scum. No, I don't think that anymore. I was just a kid. But yeah, I was a Commodore 64 man. I was definitely Nintendo at first over Sega, but then I got a Sega as well. Basically, I only got the Sega for Sonic. I never used to play any other game on the Sega apart from Sonic. John, remember Pac-Man? Oh my God. I loved Pac-Man. Such a basic game, but such fun. It sucks you in. And I like the way it's got the ghosts. It's brilliant. The old games, for me, were the best. Roller, if video games are in the DC slate, then maybe that would give more time to people working on the movies. Yeah, I think that's why they have to take their time, because you can't really give a schedule for computer games, because they take so long. And sometimes they'll give a date and it gets delayed because, you know, the people who make the games, you know, it's a complicated, it's not the same as making a film. So, yeah. So I think that's why you'll probably have less output of content, but that's a good thing. John Blake, John, yes. Rolo, video, oh, no, already read that. So I'm not a mad gamer or nothing, but I mean, as a kid, I used to love it. I used to have a handheld Donkey Kong game. Actually, that's a lie. I stole it from someone at school. They found out. And there used to be this, my brother, one Christmas, got this kind of big handheld game. And it was called Dracula. That was amazing. It's amazing, really. I'm 50 years old, but we really did. There was a lot of gaming back then when we were kids. And we used to call them TV. I used to have this thing called a TV game. You used to wire it up to the back of your telly. It wasn't the Atari. It was something else. And basically, you had settings. You moved the setting to different games. It was pretty cool. But, I mean, the cool kids, the wealthy kids, had the Atari. But the rest of us got the basic ones without any cartridges. But they were still good. They were still good shit. But yeah, technology brings everything too far. So now you got like the games are just, they are like watching a movie. Because I think the generation hasn't got an imagination, so you have to make them as real for them as possible. Well, I think we grew up with great movies and great TV shows that helped us use our imagination. For example, Doctor Who, the classic era of Doctor Who, had a very low budget and low production values because of that low budget. So the concept and the idea of Doctor Who was great, but it was very difficult for them to pull it off within the production. So as someone watching it, you had to use your imagination, right? And Doctor Who made you do that. And I think that's what was so great for people who like remember the classic series. Where now, with CGI, you don't have to use your imagination. And I think that's the problem. It's all there. It's all there now. I don't even think CGI is even used in the right way. I think it's overused. I think if you're making something, put as much in the camera as possible and only use CGI when you have to. I mean, imagine Superman the movie did it all in the camera. That's insane. That's fucking insane. I mean, they had a few optical houses back then, and everything was done on blue screen when they had to do that. So you had Christopher Reeve on a pole flying, and he had a fake background. But boy, did it look awesome. Roller, MCU is all CGI. Yeah, and it never used to be, you know. When we started with Iron Man and, you know, the first Avenger and Thor, it wasn't like that, really. And I think even the first Thor movie did a lot in the camera. But then they went really, really CGI. Because CGI can be cheaper to do, is cheaper to do than in camera. John, how would you do a Mario Kart movie? So, I mean, I can't even remember all the characters' names. So, John, basically what you do is you have one character that's a likable character, but always loses the race, and everyone just mocks them. And you have that challenge of making. It's a bit like, I suppose, it's a bit like having the hare racing the tortoise, but the tortoise winning in a way. So you create this story, this heart, but also you'd have the fun in the film, seeing them race. I mean, would I do it in live action? I don't know if I'd do a live action. I think I'd do it. I mean, you could do a mixture, couldn't you? A bit like Sonic movies, where Sonic is animated and everyone's in live action. But I think, look, if you could pull that off in live action, if you could make a live action Mario Kart movie, if you pulled it off, it would be amazing. But I think if you could have a heartfelt story about one of the racers being the underdog, it would be amazing. And you could have like the Mario brothers being celebrities, and like maybe this racer has never met them before, and he looks up to them, and there's a lot of fun things you could do. I think they need to make a Mario Kart movie. I think a Mario Kart movie may have even made more money than the one they're about to release. Rolo, I think a live action Smash Bros would be awesome. Yeah. But you've got to get it right, because you've got everyone who plays the games. It's like the comic book movies. Everyone's on them all the time because they want to see some accuracy. I think the problem is with most CBMs, there's not much accuracy to the comics. I mean, like Captain America Civil War is not that faithful to the Civil War graphic novels at all. I mean, really, Civil War could have been a whole live action series. And they cheapened it, really. And you could never go back and do that. It's like doing the death of Superman so early. The death of Superman is two chapters. You've got the death of Superman, and then you've got the Superman Lives story, which is sensational. Sensational. You could have done a 5-6 movie saga out of that. John, we know there's going to be a Mario Kart scene in the Mario movie. I didn't know that. That is awesome. They definitely should make a movie. I'm telling you, Mario Kart, people would gobble that up. Even people who are not obsessed with Mario would gobble that up. Rolo, Reign of the Supermen. Yeah, I mean, they pulled it off in animation, didn't they? And I love that. But yeah, you got Reign of the Supermen. The whole point is that, look, I love Snyder, but his Superman Rebirth story, I mean, to be fair, he didn't get to finish his Rebirth story because Superman's Rebirth story continues in Justice League 2 and Justice League 3. And I understand that, but you can't better the Reign of the Superman, and the story, the story of Superman Lives. That whole death of Superman and Superman Lives and Reign of the Superman thing is just the perfect story. You can't better that. And that deserves to be honored. The Dark Knight Returns deserves to be honored properly. You don't just squeeze those stories into BVS, because you're cheapening those stories, and the people who created those stories, just because you're a fan of those stories, doesn't mean you get to squeeze them into a film. And then you're doing a Superman Rebirth story in Justice League movies. It cheapens what they were, as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's the problem with Snyder, that he decided to take these iconic graphic novels and squeeze them in. And you can't tell a Superman Rebirth story in a Justice League movie. You can't have Superman turn up in the last 5 minutes of a Justice League movie, a 4-hour Justice League movie. People want Superman front and center in a Justice League. I don't even like how overpowered he is in the Snyder Cut. I mean, he made mincemeat of Steppenwolf. It was far too easy. That's why you should never overpower Superman. Never. That's why I like what Goya and Nolan did in Man of Steel. When in the beginning of the film, when he does his first rescue and he's holding up that thing and he's struggling, I like that. I like that. Rolo, Dark Knight Returns doesn't work when Superman and Batman are meeting for the first time. Well, you've got, listen, if you're going to do the Dark Knight Returns, Rolo, you've got to literally copy and paste it as much as you can. It's a great story. If you're doing Death of Superman and the story of Superman Lives, you've got to be faithful because you can't better what the authors of those comics did. Like, the Snyderverse doesn't better the Death of Superman than the comics. It cheapens it. And BVS isn't I like BVS. In fact, I love BVS, but it doesn't do justice to the Dark Knight Returns as far as I'm concerned. If you're going to do the Dark Knight Returns, do the Dark Knight Returns. You want to do the Death of Superman, do the Death of Superman, but do it properly. Otherwise, as I say, you cheapen those stories. I just don't see, why Batman versus Superman couldn't have been the Dark Knight Returns. And it should have been Christian Bale returning as the Dark Knight. That would have worked. The older Bruce Wayne from The Dark Knight Rises, Nolan and Goya had already did Man of Steel. I think that was their big mistake. I mean, for me, Christian Bale should have been the DCEU Batman because he was Nolan's Batman already, but Nolan didn't want to use him. And then Nolan and Goya just went missing after Man of Steel. So crazy, absolutely crazy. The whole thing was messy from the very beginning. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean I don't like the movies, but it was messy. For me, Bale would have been the DCU Batman. So if I caught Christopher Nolan in bed with a chimpanzee or a gorilla or something, or a hippopotamus, I would have taken a photo and blackmailed him and said, you have to bring Christian Bale into the DCEU. Because that would have really worked. You had a great Batman already. You didn't need to bring a new Batman in. He was already there. I mean, you left that big cliffhanger. Is he dead? Is he alive? You got everything. You got the ready-made Jim Gordon. You got the MSGT, I'm back. Commodore 64 was my first, then 128, then Amiga. Never had a gaming console until Nintendo. Tenko Bowl. So I had Commodore 64. I started off with something called a TV game. Then I had a Commodore 64. Then I had a Sega. Then I had a Nintendo. No, I had a Nintendo before the Sega. And then I got the Sega just for Sonic. Yeah. But yeah, I used to love the Commodore 64. MSGT, I'm looking forward to the Suicide Squad game. Yes, should be fun. For me, gaming's always fun. Gaming isn't something that I take seriously. It's not about winning or losing or getting the highest scores. It's something that helps me phase out from reality. That's all it is. It's fun to me. If I play FIFA or Pro or whatever I play, it's not about, I don't put any pressure on myself. It's not about that. I don't take it seriously. But then I don't take life seriously anyway. That's why I have a good sleep at night, because I don't worry. I live for the day. I live for the day and worry about tomorrow when it's here. That's all you can do. Rolo, Ben Affleck was a good Batman. I agree. I wonder if he still has the script he wrote. Oh, I'm sure he has, yeah. What a shame we never got to see that movie. That would have been great. That sounded amazing. MSGT, that's because gaming was largely invented when we grew up in the 80s. Yeah, and back then it was invented to enjoy. It wasn't really invented, I mean, obviously you can play each other online and shit like that. And I think that's better. Right, guys, we're going to call it a day in a minute. So if you've got any more comments before I go, let me know. I've been here for 2 hours. Wow, I did a live for over an hour today as well. So yeah, we got some content done. So we should be getting quite a bit of casting news in the next 6 months. From what James Gunn is saying, I definitely think we'll get a lot of the casting announcements are going to be very, very exciting. Hopefully, the casting announcements we can celebrate and not commiserate. Fingers crossed on that. So this has been Movies TV Mad. I am Nick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. MSGT CG is expensive, but has CG become less expensive than creating a proper organic set now? Yes, CG is cheaper than actually building the rigs and everything. Absolutely, that's cheaper. But at the end of the day, that saddens me, because if I was making a film and I could do whatever I wanted, CG would only be used to touch up what I did in the camera. That would be it. So if I was doing a flying scene, I would mix what they did with Superman the movie with the fake backgrounds with CG as well, just to touch it up. I would go as far forward as I could with putting stuff in the camera, because CG always looks fake. You know CG is fake, right? I mean, the best CG I see is from Zack Snyder and Peter Jackson. I mean, Lord of the Rings, it looks amazing. It looks real. Snyder makes it look as real as possible. But ultimately, you can tell what CG is and what CG isn't. And it never looks real. There's some beautiful CG. I don't want you to misunderstand me. But for me, it just doesn't feel. It just does. You know, it's not really there. It's like in Man of Steel when, Perry White's looking out the window and you see things falling apart. It's great CG, but you know that Lawrence Fishburne can't really see that shit. He's doing a great job, but CG, you know it's not there. You know it's not real. Abraham Herrera, James Cameron has been the OG of CG. He's basically brought on the era of CG in movies. Nobody does CG like James Cameron. Zack comes really close. Yeah, I think Jim Cameron, Zack Snyder, Peter Jackson, it's fucking sensational. And what Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg also did with Tintin, I was really impressed with as well. But the problem is CG is being overused these days. And, you can make better movies if you do as much as possible in the camera. And I think one day we will go back to that, because people are complaining about CG all the time. So I think ultimately they will be forced. And I think, like, the hardcore directors love to do things in the camera, like J.J. Abrams, and Christopher Nolan and Matt Reeves. And I think that's what I celebrate about the Batman. It really is in the camera, that film. And that's what I love about it. He relies on his technical ability. In terms of technical ability, I mean, not CGI, but actually able to know where to swing the camera around, where to have the camera. These are the old techniques you learn at film school. And I think CGI is just, a cheat sheet. And I mean, it's an easy way to create effects. And back in the day, I think they really made an effort with CG, but now it's become lazy. I mean, the MCU tells you everything what you need to know about CG. And the problem is, people can tell now what's good CG and bad CG. And most of what we're getting is bad CG. Now, Tom Cruise was asked in an interview on Sky Television when he was promoting Top Gun Maverick. And, they asked him, he goes, I did not want to touch CG. Basically, I wanted to do everything in the camera. That film works because it's all fucking reality based. They're actually in the fucking planes. He got all the actors and said, listen, you've got to fly these planes. And if you're not willing to do that, you have to leave now. But please tell me now. And that's the situation. Basically, Top Gun Maverick is a real movie shot in a fucking camera. If the MCU made a movie like that, it would be fucking, there'd be cartoon fucking planes and Bugs Bunny waving from the background. That's the difference. MSGT, that's always my point. A shared universe tends to force a sacrifice. A proper Civil War story could have been its own franchise, a trilogy or more, but they wanted to fit it quickly within the MCU. And that's what I say. If you're not willing to do it properly, MCGT, bit like what I was saying about the death of Superman and the Dark Knight Returns, unless you're willing to do those graphic novels justice, leave them a fucking alone, right? They didn't do Civil War justice. And I mean, I know the hardcore Marvel comic fans don't like the MCU. I know they hate what Fake's done to the Hulk. It's a desecration. And everything that Ed Norton said about Kevin Feige was spot on. Remember when everyone was calling Ed Norton a diva? It turned out that Ed Norton was right. Ed Norton is a true, proper Hulk fan. And he wanted to have a brilliant Hulk. And in fact, the movie with Ed Norton in is more faithful to Hulk than anything we've seen with Ruffalo. Now, I enjoyed Ruffalo's Hulk in the first Avengers, and a little bit in the second Avengers. I didn't like the love story of Black Widow and the fact that she could send him to sleep. Fucking pathetic. But yeah, what's happened in the MCU to the Hulk is a fucking desecration of that character. So Abraham Herrera, the way it chooses everything Forrest Gump has tons of CG, also Fight Club, but nobody really noticed. No, nobody noticed because it was used. I don't think, Forrest Gump had quite a bit in it, but only to create situations from like old show reels and stuff like that. But all the rest of most of the film was proper. I know he used, I think the Zemeckis does like to use CG, but he's very good at using it. It's a bit like the Pinocchio movie. That's not CG, but it's done in a very technical way. Some directors know what they're doing and some don't. They're all using it. The problem is the creatives in the industry now are not especially talented. They wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes in the Lucasfilm owned by George Lucas. My age group grew up with proper, real, talented people from film school. These people, I don't know how they get their jobs, but they're simply not of the ability because the audience sees through how bad it is. When you've got an audience member sitting in the cinema and saying, fucking hell, this is shit, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But these people are not even embarrassed. MSGT, same death of Superman could have been its own franchise, a trilogy, I agree. The second movie being all those other pretender Superman. Exactly, a great concept. And the third being Superman re-establishing. Amazing. It would have been amazing. Why don't they do these graphic novels justice? Even in the animated universe, they cut lots of shit out of them. I think it's ridiculous. John Hand, I've just subbed to your YouTube channel. Thank you very much, John. Abraham Herrera, welcome to the club, John. Yeah, welcome to the club. It can be friendly. I can get a bit out, but most of the time, I'm pretty chilled out. And on this channel, we talk DC. We talk a little bit of other entertainment. We love Doctor Who here. Yes, but mostly we do talk DC. Bad Super. Kubrick's 2001 is a great example of what you can do without CG. Yes, because Kubrick was gifted enough to do it. But what happens is with technology, you become lazy and you allow people who haven't got the ability to shoot, who haven't got a good eye for filmmaking, because they don't have to, because they've got the technology to help them cheat and look like good filmmakers. So most of them know how to use CG, but are not necessarily great directors. Most of the directors making films today wouldn't last 5 minutes in the 70s or the 80s, but even in the 60s, they were doing amazing things. And there's no question about it. These people are not proper filmmakers. Joe Bosco, Policia Civilmente, Policia Militar, I don't know what you're saying. John Hand, I've just pressed the like button. Already done. Thanks. Thank you. Well, we're going to call it a day now, everyone. That was a brilliant live. I really enjoyed it. John Blake, Jodie Blake, sorry, I pressed the like button and subscribed. Thank you. Drake player, Gunn is better than Snyder. Well, I admire both directors, Drake, for different reasons. I think Snyder is amazing. He uses CGI like a paintbrush. I like his movies. So I love Snyder. And I mean, look, it's difficult. I do like James Gunn. I think the Suicide Squad was great. Guardians is great. But yeah, I like them both. I wouldn't like to say which one's better. But super, the directors back in the day had to be created to make things work. But now a lot of filmmakers are so amateurish in comparison. They are. Because you don't have to be that great. You don't have to be that great to make a movie. John Han, how comes you don't have memberships on your live streaming on YouTube? I have no idea, John. I'm just making it up as I go along. MSGT. First of all, I don't think I'm monetized. I'm not monetized. I don't have the view time or whatever it is. So yeah, MSGT Drake player. I'd say different, not better. Yep, agree. Jodie Blake, enjoyed this live. I will be back. Great, Jodie. It was great having you. Great talking to you. We spoke about DC. We talked about movies. We talked about gaming. But I think that the point we've just been talking about is you don't have to be that talented to be a director these days. There's very, very few talented writer-directors out there. Like people like, what's his name? The guy who did the first Suicide Squad. God, I forgot his name. David Ayer. He's a very talented guy. So Christopher Nolan, really talented writer-director. There's a few of them out there. I still don't think those guys are as talented as the people I grew up with, but they're still leaps and bounds better than people like Taika Waititi. I don't think he's a great writer-director. I don't even know how the guy has become so successful. And it was all because of Thor Ragnarok, really. And even that film isn't as great as people think it is. Abraham Herrera, I'm trying to get 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours to be able to monetize. It's not that easy. No, it's not. I don't really try. I don't ask people to subscribe to my channel. I don't say to friends and family members, oh, you must subscribe and you must give me lots of watch hours so I could be monetized. I'd love to be monetized. I could, that would be great. But yeah, it ain't happening anytime soon. So I'm just, I don't even check anymore. But super, Dennis Villeneuve is also a good one. Yeah, he's very, very good. Yeah. So he did Blade Runner 2015, didn't he? Which was a great movie. Obviously, Dune as well. Abraham Herrera, use YouTube Shorts, Mick. It helps. Oh, yeah. You can do really shorts, can't you? Like TikTok. I mean, yeah, people would watch those a lot more. I don't know, because I just like doing the live videos and the longer videos. When I'm recording a video, it's just difficult to start making a short video and trying to plan your content like that. Obviously, people will watch shorter videos. That's for sure. Right, everyone, I'm definitely going to go now. Reno Jack, good afternoon, sir. Hope it's a good Sunday for you. Reno, it's been great, but I'm just about to sign off. But I'm glad you came in to say hello. I hope your Sunday's been great. My Sunday's been great. I've had the morning and afternoon. It's now 10:45 p.m. here in Cyprus. So I'm about to sign off for the day. But it's been great here on Movies TV Mad. It's been great watching you. It's been great talking to you all. And I will be back tomorrow. John Hand, thanks for your live streaming on YouTube. You're welcome. Abraham Herrera, just take funny snippets from your videos or interesting bits and upload them as shorts. But anyway, take care, Mick. Till next time. Thank you, Abraham. I will see you next time. Jodie Blake, latest Jodie. So this has been Movies TV Mad. I am Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. See you later.